Welcome to our channel, What If Multiverse, the place where we always ask the question, what if? And explore real events through a different lens. So make sure to subscribe right now, hit the notification bell, and give us a simple like to support our work so we can keep bringing you these exciting journeys week after week. Today, we are diving into one of the most shocking headlines of recent days, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, a young and controversial conservative activist in the United States whose career and story were cut short by the sound of a single bullet. Imagine a crowded university campus in Utah filled with students waiting to hear a speech, and suddenly, the silence of the atmosphere is shattered by gunfire. Screams fill the place, and the body of Charlie Kirk collapses to the ground as the political landscape of America changes in an instant. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was not just a security incident, but a turning point in both politics and society. And this is where our central question emerges. What if this event had never happened? What if Kirk had survived the attack and lived on? How different would America, its laws, its society, and even its image in the world look today? Kirk, in his early 30s, had already become one of the most recognizable conservative voices in the country, the founder of Turning Point USA, a movement designed to shape young minds in universities, and a figure whose speeches always sparked debate and controversy. Had he survived, the media would have immediately turned him into a living hero, the man who escaped death, and that label of survivor could have instantly changed his trajectory and multiplied his popularity overnight. In the eyes of his supporters, he would no longer have been just another political activist, but a symbol of resilience, someone who defeated death itself. And that kind of story is always a priceless asset in the rough game of American politics. History has shown that leaders who tie their identity to survival and endurance often climb to extraordinary heights. Just as John McCain turned years of imprisonment in Vietnam into the foundation of his national reputation, Kirk could have become the standard bearer of a new conservative generation, potentially entering congressional races or even setting his sights on the presidency one day, a path of power that his death permanently erased. Turning Point USA would have grown even more powerful with its leader alive, turning campuses into ideological battlegrounds, attracting more and more students into the conservative fold, and intensifying the culture wars of America. Instead, the movement was forced into a new phase, built on his memory rather than his presence. And we are left to wonder, without that bullet, would the generational divide in America have looked very different today? We must also address a striking paradox. Kirk was a staunch defender of gun rights, repeatedly insisting that citizens needed firearms for self-defense, yet he became a victim of the very weapon he championed. If this assassination had never occurred, liberals would not have gained such a powerful emotional case to push for stricter gun laws, and the endless battle over gun reform might have continued at a slower, less heated pace. Had Kirk lived, he might have doubled down, using his survival as proof that guns were necessary for protection. And that contradiction, the survivor who defends weapons, would have fueled endless debate. But his death created the opposite narrative, giving opponents of gun culture a tragic example to point to and igniting a new wave of argument over whether America can ever control its violence. Sociologists argue that events like this are not just political incidents, but accelerators of polarization, forcing groups to define their identities against one another and deepening social rifts. On one side, liberals frame the event as proof that gun freedom leads to chaos, while on the other, conservatives elevate Kirk into a martyr of liberty, a fallen hero whose memory must be honored. This clash seeps into everyday life. Families arguing around dinner tables, friends breaking ties on social media, and universities turning into daily battlegrounds of clashing ideologies as the assassination ripples far beyond Washington. In this battlefield, media outlets become the fuel of division. Conservative networks glorify Kirk as a national icon. Liberal networks highlight the tragedy as evidence of reckless policies. And online spaces explode with hashtags, viral videos, and conspiracy theories. The result is a storm of anger and resentment, a society split down the middle, with a single bullet transforming what could have remained a personal tragedy into a nationwide crisis of identity and trust. Had the attack never happened, the divide would still exist, but burn less brightly. Kirk would be alive to defend his movement, and his name would not be weaponized as a symbol of America's deepest wound. But history chose another path, and now we are living in the consequences of that choice. Consequences that reach far beyond America's borders. Around the world, the headlines were immediate. America cannot even protect its own politicians, a line that quickly became ammunition for rival nations eager to undermine the image of American stability. China and Russia seized on the event as proof of a society in decline, pointing to it as the inevitable outcome of uncontrolled freedoms. And in doing so, they damaged America's credibility on the international stage. If the assassination had never taken place, the United States would still project a stronger image of security. Allies would trust its institutions more, and adversaries would lack the opportunity to use its pain as propaganda. But in the world we now inhabit, America is viewed as a country torn apart by internal violence, and that perception will inevitably bleed into diplomacy, trade, and international cooperation. Let us imagine a different alternative. What if security forces had intercepted the assassin before the bullet was ever fired? What if the tragedy had been stopped in time? In that case, the headlines would have read, "America foils deadly attack." The FBI and police would be celebrated as heroes, and the nation would rally around the story of a disaster prevented. Kirk himself would have stood before the cameras declaring, "I was the target, but I am still here." And that narrative would have launched him to an even higher pedestal of fame and influence. Such a story would have accelerated his political rise, giving him a powerful personal myth to wield, and perhaps pushing him into major elections much sooner than anyone expected. This shows us how fragile history is, how one bullet, one moment, one decision can alter the destiny of an entire nation and reshape the identity of millions of people. If that bullet had never been fired, perhaps gun laws would remain unchanged. Perhaps the political divide would follow a different trajectory. Perhaps America's image abroad would still be intact. And perhaps Charlie Kirk would be a frontrunner in national politics today. History always offers countless possible roads, but only one becomes real. And in our world, the road we walk is paved by tragedy, leaving us with the haunting question of, what if? Future historians may look back and declare this event a turning point in American politics, or they may dismiss it as just another tragic page in a long story of violence. But for us, the question remains unresolved. What would the world look like without this event? What future might have unfolded? And above all, can the fate of one person truly alter the destiny of an entire nation? These are the questions that keep us awake, and they are the reason we return again and again to the realm of what if, a place where every possibility can be explored and nothing is fixed. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a like, and share your thoughts in the comments, because your voices guide us and fuel the stories we create next. And remember to stay tuned right here on the What If Multiverse channel for more exciting scenarios, because every week we will take you on another journey into an alternate history, where the past and the future collide, and the world is rewritten before your eyes.